morning you guys, it's Karen, and this video I hope will be really useful to you and is for you if your dog is on crate rest or cage rest, if they are not allowed to go for any walks. So it could be that they're recovering from an injury or they may be ill. It's usually injuries, isn't it, that mean that they've had surgery and they need that to heal before they can start walking again. This is a list of ideas of things that you can do to mentally tire them out. And it should be, you know, if you do these things, they are as tiring as a walk. And so you can do them a few times a day and it should help them to prevent them getting depressed, because dogs can get depressed when on crate rest. I should also say, please do make sure that this is the best thing for your dog. You know, consult your vet if you think that's what you need to do, because they'll all have different injuries, and some of these, for example, may not be appropriate if they have a head injury or if they have front paws injuries, or you should be able to assess from how I'm telling you to do these whether or not your dog will be able to do them. But like I said, if you feel that you're not sure, check with your vet. There are two types of activities you can do with your dog when they're on crate rest. There is the one type of activity that is interactive, meaning you need to be there, you need to participate, and then there is the other, which is a solo activity, which may be very useful for you, but that's something that you will need to prepare something that probably involves treats and give it to them, but it will keep them occupied on their own and you don't need to interact. You would think, well, there's nothing really I can train them to do when they just need to lie down, but I've got a long list here. I've got 3, 4, 5, there's probably 15 things on here. So I'll try to give you a brief idea of how you would train them, but obviously I'm not going to go through each and every one in too much detail. Let me know if you want further training on these and I can maybe do a dedicated video. So I've put touch. Touch is something where you just hold your hand and the dog goes like that. And so you can just hold your hand in front of your dog's nose and see what he does, and most dogs will touch. And so you can click and treat for touch, and you can just try it with your other hand, try it with the back of your hand, try it with a post-it, hold something up and say touch. But to begin with, you just hold your hand there, and then when they do that, click and treat, and then you start introducing the word, and then you can progress it to, like I said, the notepad or another hand or an elbow or anything. Target is a longer version of touch, and so target would be if they put their nose on and just hold it on your hand. And so once you've got touch, you could then hold your hand and they will probably just nose it like that. Just wait. Most of this training is going to be by what's called shaping, which is just waiting for them to do something. They can see that you have a treat in your hand, make sure they can see or smell that you have a high value treat. Just hold your hand there, and they need to figure out that they need to hold their nose on your hand. And if they hold it for more than they would with the touch, quickly give them a click and a treat, and then you can progressively get that to where they're holding their nose on for longer. So touch, target, which hand is more of a game rather than training, but you put a treat in one hand, nothing in the other, and I say to Watson, smell which hand, and then they will either paw or nose or whatever is easiest for them to do, which one. If they get the right hand, you say yes and give them the treat. If they get the wrong hand, you say uh-oh, and then show them what's in your hand and say try again, and then smell which hand. So it's just them using their nose to find out which hand has got the treat in. Another one using your hands is small versus big. The idea is that you put your hand out with a pile of treats in one hand and one treat in the other, and you offer it to them and say small, and then you hold your hands at such a place where if they go towards the large one, which they most likely will, you take it back and say uh-oh, and then you would offer it to them again and just keep uh-oh until they realise, oh okay, I need to go for the small one. And so when they go for the small one, you say, yeah, well done, and give them another one from the big pile. And then you just keep on doing that until it gets to the point where they will go for the smaller one. And that's great training to wear them out, because that's impulse control, because their impulse is to go for the big pile of treats. Some more things to train on are head down is a great one, because head down is what you can train them on to get them to relax, and it's something that is a natural relaxing position for them. And head down is exactly that, is their head right properly on the floor. So a lot of the time Watson will be lying down, but his head is, you know, he's alert, he's looking around. And so when he's in the window and I know that he's going to be barking at people that are going past or dogs or whatnot, I can say head down, and his head is down. It makes it harder for him to be aroused by the things that are going past, and it's a naturally sort of relaxing position that makes them sleepy. So to teach head down, you are simply luring them into putting their head down. So you would hold a piece of treat in front of them and pull it to the floor and say, and click and treat them once their head is on the floor, and give them the treat. And then once they get used to that, you can lure them without the treat and then give them the treat, and then you can add in head down and then make it into a command. I know that I'm going over this very quickly because, like I said, if I go in detail we could be here all day, but I'm happy to do a video on any of these. Something else you could train is to give you a kiss. I know that I assumed every dog kisses, but they don't all do a kiss, which is just, you know, like when you put the hand near them and wait for them to do something, you would just put your lips near them. You could even do the kiss motion, you know, and some people might not want their dogs to kiss them, but I'm quite happy with kisses from Watson. You could teach them to put their tongue out, and so for that I taught Watson by just putting something really delicious in front of him and waiting for his tongue to come out, and then I say, stick your tongue out, yay, click and treat, and then give him a treat, you know, so just wait for that to happen. You could teach them right and left. I have actually done a video on how to teach them right and left, but you don't need them to be sitting or standing. They can just be lying in their crate, because you could just hold a treat and move it this way and say, look left, you know, or just move it this way and click and treat them first, and then do it with no treat, see if they'll follow your finger, and then add in look left, and then they should be able to learn it in that process. There's no reason that they need to be sitting or standing for that. Two really, really useful ones are look at me, or watch me if you prefer to use that word. They are brilliant things to train your dog on, because they're things you can use in real life situations when you don't want them to see that there's a squirrel over there or a rabbit over there or another dog. You can say look at me, and so when they are in the crate, it is something that is very easy to train, because you just hold a treat to you and say look at me, and then give them a click and treat, and then you remove the treat and use your fingers, look at me. I still kind of use my hand sometimes and say look at me, Watson, but you can then remove the hand and just say look at me and give them a click and treat for that. And the other one that's really useful is chin, and you'll have seen this in some of the videos with Watson whereby I put my hand like that and ask him to put his chin on my hand, and the reason this is useful is it means that I can look in his eyes, look in his ears. To start with, it was just chin. He put his chin on me like that and I gave him a treat, and I've progressed to chin, and then I look in his eyes, and the first time I did it he sort of jumped up and I was like chin, and then he realised, okay, if I'm to get that treat I've got to let her look in my eyes, and then I progressed to the ears, and now I get him to put his chin in my hand and I look in his eyes, look in his ears, and that's him getting a treat. You could get him to hold something, you could teach him to hold something, and actually this is a training aspect that took Watson a long time, and so it would have been ideal when he was ill. It can be anything from a pen. I would say try a soft toy at first, so that something that's really easy for them to hold, and literally just hold it in front of them and wait, and they'll, when they first take it, you can, because you're shaping them, so you're getting them there slowly but surely, you can click and treat them for taking it out of your hands, but then you need to, that they get like, okay, I need to put my teeth around it, but then you need to extend that to them holding it in their mouth, and that will take a lot of patience on your part with some dogs, because it did take Watson a long time, but it really is just a case of sitting, keep giving it to them and saying uh-oh, and waiting until there's just a little bit longer, until they hold it in their mouth, click and treat, and then they will understand, oh okay, you wanted me to do that, you wanted me to hold it in my mouth. The other two, like I said, are fun things, and actually it's more of a one type of training, which is identifying items, but I've said where's my phone and name your toys. So you could take, say this was my phone, you could just hold the phone and say where's my phone, and again it's shaping and just waiting for them to nose it, and then you're clicking and treating, and you could do that with anything. That's how I taught Watson, where's my phone, where's my keys, where's my shoes. So you could hold up many different items, and obviously if you're only holding one item they're going to get it right, and that is the idea. You set them up for success. But so you say where's my phone, and they click and treat, click and treat. You then bring in where's my keys or where's my pen, and then they have to decide between the two, and that's when they start to use their brain. And on that same subject, you can teach them, you can name all of their toys and get them to name the different toys, get them to choose which one is which. So you would start off with one toy and say Where's Ronnie? We called one of Watson's toys Ronnie. The trouble is with Watson, he destroys most of his toys, but that's another story. Where's Ronnie? And of course they're going to nose it. And then you would introduce another one. Where's Sam? And then they need to choose between the two. So that's just another fun game that you can play with them without them needing to move. Watson, where's the comb? Boy, that's the comb. Where's Piggy? Where's Piggy? Where's Piggy? Good boy. Watson, where's Piggy? Yes. Where's the comb? Uh-oh. Where's the comb? Where's the comb? Where's the comb? Uh-oh, that's Piggy. Where's the comb? Where's the comb? Yes. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ideas are ones that you can create, give to them, and it will keep them occupied and it will use their brain. The first is something that I've showed you in a recent haul video. I love these. These have been perfect for me. I used this one yesterday when I took Watson to my dad's and I put peanut butter on it. The orange one is for soft things like peanut butter or liver paste. This one is more for wet food. So I used this when I went to my dad's. I wanted to talk to them and Watson to settle, so I just put some peanut butter on here and gave it to him. And I have used this one to put his little, he's got a little bit of a wet food allowance at the moment, and I'm putting it on here, and it's something that then he has to work at getting out. So these are great. These are Licki Mats. I will link them for you. This is a Wobble Toy. So you put the kibble in here, you take this top off, you put the kibble in this bit here, and then put the top on like so, twist it, and then what they need to do, I'll put it on here so you can see, is just hit it like that, and the kibble appears in the middle. And I've got 2 types of wobble boards for Watson actually. The other one is bigger. It's called a rock and bowl, and he hits it and it comes out of these bits at the bottom. And so this one confused him at first because he felt like he needed to slam it and he would see them coming out, but actually the kibble appear in the middle. But this is very good to use for their kibble. Because as long as their paws are okay, of course, because all they need to do is just keep on hitting it, and so the kibble comes out in the middle. Another one that is a machine but is a little bit more taxing on the brain is this one. This is the Trixie. Now I can't remember the name of it, but I will link it for you. But what you do is you put kibble in here, you take this lid off and put kibble in a round ball, and then the dog has to learn to press this button, and then kibble is released out of here, so he's in control of his kibble. And you can do it, you can open it so that it comes out one at a time, or it comes out a whole bunch at a time. And so again, I taught Watson by shaping, and I was amazed when he got it. You know, you really don't think they're going to get it, but if you're patient enough they will. And so I just sat and would get him to nose this or paw it. I was trying to see which was the easiest for him. And if he nosed it at first, but not hard enough, I would actually do it for him, sort of without him seeing. And then he could see that it would, by pressing this, it was getting kibble to come out. And this is something that really is great for them. And I would say they love it because they're in control. Oh, I want more kibble, I can press this button. But the process of getting to the point where they know to press the button to get the kibble is really tiring for them. That's then a toy that you can keep and use at a later date by putting this. They then have to look for this. You can put this in different rooms, you know, or further across the room until they find it. Another great toy, this is new. I've just ordered this and I think it's flipping amazing. It's massive. It's called a Pidsen Mat. And this is half snuffle mat. I'm going to fold it in half so you can see. Half snuffle mat. So that is, you've probably heard of snuffle mat. And I know you can make your own, of course. And you could make your own one of these. You could make this type of mat. But this is the other side. And this is the bit I love because I've never seen anything like it. It is just little different places that you can put treats. So you can put them under here. You can put them in those corners there and under there. In that little flowery thing there, under there, so they can see them, and then they need to get underneath in these little kind of squished up pockets. It's absolutely brilliant. So I have used this so many times. It's very much like the Buster mat, and that's another thing that you could use. And the difference between it is I believe this is washable. I hope it is, because I am going to wash it. Is the Buster mat. Now I have done a whole video on this. So it's a mat that has lots of things that you press stud onto it. So for example, this, you would press stud onto here, and then you would put a treat in here in either side of the pocket. Then you roll it up, and depending on your dog's level, you can put an elastic band on the end to hold it. And it needs to be something high value so that it smells strong to them. There's a sort of envelope here, and it's got pockets. You put things like that on. So I mean, this takes a minute to get ready, but it also keeps them occupied for a long time, and I use this if I'm leaving Watson. But this would be great. The only thing with this is they can't do this from sitting in the crate. They would need to be outside of the crate lying down, and they would need to move around this mat. And so this may be for a stage further in their recovery, or depending on exactly what they were allowed to do. Homemade ideas, so I have 4 of them. The first one is something I've done a video on already, which is just treats in sheets. But instead of using a sheet, maybe use an old towel or an old tea towel, and basically just get the tea towel out, put some treats in it and roll it different ways and scrunch it up in a ball. And then they can kind of snuffle through that and find the treats. And if you wanted to make it a little bit harder, maybe put an elastic band around it so that they need to pull the elastic band off, or tie a string around it so they need to get through the string first before they can get to all the treats at the centre. The second idea is boxes, treats in boxes, and this is something that I have done for years, pretty much since the beginning with Watson. I keep every empty pill box, every empty tissue box, every empty cereal box, beer boxes, any cosmetics that I buy, every single empty box I keep, and we have a particular area for it. And you can then either just put a treat in each box and put them in the crate, and they will need to undo that box. Again, to make it harder, you could put some not masking tape, the tape that is easily ripped, the stuff that you use to protect when you're painting. I can't think of the name of it. I don't think it is masking tape, is it? Anyway, whatever it is, it's not the one that's hard, you know, gonna injure them trying to undo it, but the one that is easy enough for them to get through. So you could take a tissue box, for example. Here's an empty tissue box. You could put some treats in there and then just wrap some tape around it. I mean, the treats might end up getting stuck to the tape. What I tend to do is get a box like this. I would put one treat in there, then take another couple of boxes that are smaller, put a couple of treats and put those boxes in there, and so on and so forth, and stuff it full. And if you had room and there was no more boxes left, you could use just an old rag, put a treat in the middle of the rag and stuff that in until it's really stuffed full, and that will keep them occupied. I sometimes do that to the extreme in that, you know, we've got a Budweiser beer bottle box which is about yay big, and I will just fill up loads of boxes. And you can do it that some boxes have treats and some don't. It depends on the size of the treat you're putting in there and how much of an allowance you're using, or you can use their kibble if you think they will work for their kibble. But again, that's a little bit more activity if you're doing a big box like that you may not want them to move around that much. That I have just ordered myself from Amazon, so I'll put a picture in for you. That's kind of like a cage. Now, I've seen this and never ordered it before, and I just thought, what on earth is that? And I wish I'd have looked into it sooner, because I just watched a video on and was like, that is perfect. And the idea is that you can either put a toy inside that cage, so they have to work to get their toy out if they're toy motivated. Watson isn't at all. Or you can cut up little bits of strips of fabric, put a treat in, roll it up and fill up this cage with these little rolls, and they will have to pull each one out in order to get the treat. And so that's what I'm going to use it for. And so that's another great idea. I can't wait for that to arrive. By the way, all of these, the reason I have all of these is because I used a lot of them for separation anxiety. They can also be used for that. But also, I have a high energy dog who is extremely intelligent, and just walks don't tire him out. So I'm always looking for ways to get his brain working. And the final toy I have to show you is probably my favourite and probably Watson's favourite. Now, I think I've shown you another version of this, which is an old tea towel cut into 3 strips, and then tie one end with an elastic band, plait it, tie the other end, and then put treats in it. This is just another version because my husband was clearing out his ties, and so this is 3 of his ties. So I just tied a knot at the end with one, and then plaited it all the way down and tied a knot at the other end. And so I will just slip treats in to the little pockets, make sure they're well, you know, tucked in between the tie. And I have used this in the last week. I took this to we went to my mother-in-law's for dinner, so I put lots of treats in this, wrapped it up and took it with us, and then that kept him occupied. And then once they're finished being occupied, they're tired, so they go to sleep. It's something that I give him a lot of afternoons. If he wakes up and I'm still busy doing things, I'll put some treats in here and give it to him, and he just absolutely loves it because he can kind of snuffle through and find them all. And yeah, this is just a really, really good idea. The only thing with this is because it's a tie, it's really long, you know, so I could probably do with this being in 2 halves because there's a lot of treats goes into that. Could probably do with cutting that there and make that into 2. Tea towels are perfect for that. I hope that that was useful. Please let me know if you are going through a situation with your dog on crate rest and how you're finding it and how your dog's finding it, and if any of these things work. I would love to hear from you, and I hope that they will. I'm pretty sure that with a mix of these things, they will be happy as Larry and think it's great being in their crate. So thank you so much for watching today, and I will speak to you again soon.